What if someone hijacked a plane, demanded a fortune in ransom, then vanished into the night sky, never to be seen again? No trail, no body, no answers. This is the true story of D.B. Cooper, the man behind the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. history. It's a case that has baffled the FBI, haunted investigators, and turned a criminal into a mysterious American legend. Welcome to Crime Cipher, where we decode the darkest mysteries and the boldest crimes. If you're fascinated by the untold, the unbelievable, and the unsolved, hit that subscribe button and dive into the cipher with us. The hijack begins. It was November 24th, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving. A man in his mid-40s wearing a dark suit, a black overcoat, and a calm demeanor walked into Portland International Airport. He bought a one-way ticket for just $20. The destination? Seattle, Washington. He gave the name Dan Cooper, later famously misreported by the media as D.B. Cooper. He boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 with 36 other passengers, blending in as nothing more than a routine traveler on a short 30-minute flight. But just after takeoff, Cooper handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. Assuming it was just a flirtatious message, she slipped it into her pocket until Cooper whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Inside his briefcase were red cylinders, wires, and a battery, just convincing enough to appear lethal. This wasn't a bluff. Cooper had hijacked the flight in the air, and his plan was only just beginning. Dan Cooper or D.B. Cooper, the identity confusion. Interestingly, the name D.B. Cooper wasn't even the alias he used. When he bought his plane ticket in Portland, he gave the name Dan Cooper, a name investigators would later discover was likely inspired by a fictional Canadian comic book hero who was an Air Force pilot and parachuted into daring missions. However, due to a miscommunication with the press, a reporter mistakenly referred to him as D.B. Cooper, a name that stuck and became legendary. Despite efforts to clarify the error, the misheard alias quickly took over media headlines and has been cemented in pop culture history ever since. That tiny mistake turned a man with a fake name into a myth with an unforgettable one. The demands. Calmly but firmly, Cooper told the crew exactly what he wanted. $200,000 in unmarked $20 bills, roughly $1.2 million today, and 4 parachutes. 2 primary chutes and 2 reserves. He warned the crew not to alert the passengers, and the pilots relayed his demands to air traffic control. For the next 90 minutes, the plane circled the Seattle airport as authorities scrambled to meet Cooper's conditions. Remarkably, Cooper showed no signs of panic. He ordered a bourbon and soda, smoked cigarettes, and remained composed, even courteous. One flight attendant later recalled that he was never cruel or threatening, just eerily controlled. When the plane finally landed in Seattle, FBI agents delivered the cash and parachutes. Cooper released all passengers unharmed, keeping only 4 crew members aboard. But he wasn't done. This heist wasn't about getting rich, it was about getting away. The Great Escape. With the money secured, Cooper instructed the pilots to head south toward Mexico City. But he had specific and unusual demands. The aircraft had to fly under 10,000 feet, with the landing gear down and flaps partially extended. It had to stay below 200 knots, and he insisted the rear exit stairs stay unlocked. An odd but crucial detail. Somewhere over the dense forests of Washington just after 8 p.m., the unthinkable happened. Cooper opened the rear stairway, tied the ransom bag to his waist, and leapt out of the plane into the freezing, pitch-black night. The temperature was below freezing, the wind over 200 miles per hour, and the terrain below was rugged, remote, and unforgiving. The crew only noticed a slight bump as the stairs shifted. Cooper was gone. Just like that. No one saw him jump. No body was found. No parachute. No radio signal. He had vanished into legend. The Manhunt. What followed was one of the most intense investigations in FBI history, codenamed NORJAK, Northwest Hijacking. For years, federal agents combed through forests, rivers, and mountains. They interviewed skydivers, criminals, ex-military personnel, and airline staff. Suspect after suspect emerged, some convincing, many not. At first, authorities believed Cooper must have had skydiving experience, maybe even military training. But later, some investigators speculated otherwise. He chose a non-steerable parachute and didn't notice his reserve chute was for training, sewn shut and unusable. Could he have been a desperate amateur, not a criminal mastermind? The FBI followed over 800 leads in the first 5 years alone. But none of them panned out. Even DNA from the tie Cooper left behind provided no definitive answers. This case was unlike anything they had ever faced. Theories and suspects. One of the most well-known suspects was Richard Floyd McCoy, a Vietnam veteran who pulled off a similar hijacking months later. He parachuted from a plane with $500,000 and was later arrested. Many believed he and Cooper were one and the same, but key witnesses, especially flight attendants who interacted directly with Cooper, ruled him out. He didn't look the same. He didn't act the same. Plus, McCoy died in a shootout after escaping from prison, taking secrets with him to the grave. Other suspects emerged over the years. A recluse in the Pacific Northwest, a former paratrooper with a grudge, a career criminal with aviation knowledge. But every lead eventually faded. Some even believed Cooper never survived the jump, that he perished in the wilderness and his body was lost to the elements. But then a clue surfaced. Nearly a decade after the jump, a young boy digging near the Columbia River unearthed a decaying bundle of cash, $5,800 in $20 bills. The serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom, yet no further trace of the man or the rest of the money was ever found. The case goes cold. Despite countless tips, documentaries, and public fascination, the mystery remained sealed tight. In 2016, 45 years after the hijacking, the FBI officially closed the case. They called it one of the most exhaustive investigations in the Bureau's history, and one of the most frustrating. Even with modern forensics, satellite mapping, and public crowdsourcing, D.B. Cooper's identity and fate remains a question mark in American criminal history. The file is technically still open, but the active search is over. Cooper, whoever he was, slipped through the cracks of history and into legend. If he survived, he'd likely be in his 90s today, possibly still out there, silent, watching his myth grow with time. Cooper, the legend lives on. D.B. Cooper didn't just hijack a plane, he hijacked America's imagination. His case inspired books, movies, TV shows, and endless speculation. He became a symbol of rebellion, mystery, and wit, a modern-day outlaw who pulled off the impossible and got away with it. Bars in the Pacific Northwest still host D.B. Cooper Night. There are Cooper-themed escape rooms, comic books, and even theories linking him to secret government ops. Was he a hero? A villain? A myth made real? Or just a man with one shot at rewriting his life, and the guts to take it? Whether he lived or died, D.B. Cooper became more than a man. He became a legend that refuses to fade. So, who was D.B. Cooper? A cunning criminal? A lucky amateur? Or the greatest escape artist America has ever known? We may never know, but his story endures, etched into the skies he vanished into. If you love this deep dive, hit like, drop a comment with your favorite theory, and subscribe to Crime Cipher for more chilling tales and criminal enigmas.